I want to tell you something very important, something that will make you feel better about yourself and your place in this world, something that many people your age have forgotten, but that I need you to remember. Drop a comment below and tell me what state you're listening from, because what I'm about to share with you is something I wish someone had told me when I was feeling like I didn't matter anymore. Here's the truth about why you are so much more important than you think you are. Sometimes I meet people who tell me they feel invisible. They say nobody listens to them anymore. They say the world has moved on without them. They say they don't matter because they're not young anymore, or because they're not working anymore, or because their children are grown up and don't need them the same way. But I want you to know something. Those feelings are not true. They're just feelings. And feelings can lie to us sometimes. The truth is very different. The truth is that you matter more now than you ever have before. Not less. More. Let me explain why in the simplest way I can. First, you know things that other people don't know yet. You've lived long enough to see how life really works. You understand what's important and what's not important. You know what lasts and what doesn't last. Think about it this way. When you're young, everything feels new and confusing. You don't know if the problems you have are serious or if they'll go away. You don't know which people you can trust. You don't know what decisions will make you happy later. But you do know these things now. You've learned them by living. And that knowledge is precious. When a young person is worried about something, you can tell them if it's really worth worrying about. When someone is making a mistake, you can see it coming because you've seen it before. When someone is confused about what to do, you have wisdom that can help them. This makes you incredibly valuable. You're like a person who has a map when everyone else is lost. You're like someone who has medicine when everyone else is sick. You're like someone who has experience when everyone else is just guessing. Second, you've done hard things before. You've survived difficult times. You've solved problems. You've figured out how to keep going when things were tough. Maybe you raised children when money was tight. Maybe you took care of sick family members. Maybe you worked jobs you didn't like to provide for people you loved. Maybe you got through times when you weren't sure you could. All of that made you strong. All of that taught you how to handle difficulties. All of that proved that you can figure things out when you need to. That strength doesn't go away when you get older. It stays with you. And other people can see it, even when you can't see it in yourself. When younger people are around you, they feel safer because you know how to handle problems. They feel calmer because you don't panic about small things. They feel more confident because you show them that difficulties can be survived. Third, you care about people in a special way. You care about your family, your friends, your community. You want good things for people. You worry about them. You try to help them when you can. This caring is not ordinary. It's special. It's valuable. It makes the world a better place. When you call someone to check on them, that matters. When you remember someone's birthday, that matters. When you listen to someone's problems, that matters. When you give someone advice, that matters. You might think these are small things, but they're not small to the person who receives them. They're big. They're important. They make people feel loved and cared for. Fourth, you have time to pay attention to things that other people are too busy to notice. You can see when someone is sad. You can tell when something is wrong. You can spot when someone needs help. Younger people are often rushing around, trying to manage work and children and all their responsibilities. They don't have time to really look at what's happening around them, but you do. And that means you can be the person who notices when someone needs a friend. You can be the person who sees when something beautiful is happening. You can be the person who pays attention to the details that make life meaningful. Fifth, you represent something important. You represent the idea that life has value at every age. You represent the idea that wisdom comes from experience. You represent the idea that people can be useful and important even when they're not young anymore. Every day that you wake up and live your life, you're showing the world that older people matter. Every time you learn something new, you're proving that people can keep growing. Every time you help someone, you're demonstrating that older people have something valuable to give. This representation matters because it changes how society thinks about aging. It shows younger people that getting older doesn't mean becoming useless. It proves that every stage of life has its own gifts and possibilities. Now, I know that sometimes you might not feel important. You might feel like nobody needs you anymore. You might feel like you're just taking up space or using up resources. But these feelings are lying to you. They're not based on truth. They're based on fear and sadness and the wrong messages that our society sometimes sends about older people. The truth is that you are needed, you are wanted, you are valuable, you are important. Your children need you, even if they don't call as often as you'd like. They need to know you're there. They need your wisdom when they face big decisions. They need your love when they go through hard times. Your grandchildren need you, even if they seem more interested in their phones than in talking to you. They need to know where they came from. They need to hear stories about their family. They need to see an example of someone who has lived a full life. Your friends need you, even if some of them are gone now. The friends you still have need your companionship. They need someone who understands what they're going through. They need someone who remembers the same things they remember. Your community needs you, even if it sometimes feels like a place for younger people. Your community needs people who care about what happens to it. It needs people who vote and volunteer and pay attention to local issues. Your world needs you, even if it sometimes feels like it's moving too fast for you to keep up. Your world needs people who remember how things used to be. It needs people who can see the patterns that repeat. It needs people who value stability and wisdom and taking time to think things through. But most importantly, you need you. You need to treat yourself like someone who matters. You need to take care of yourself like someone who is valuable. You need to respect yourself like someone who has something important to offer. This means eating well because your body deserves good fuel. This means staying active because your strength is worth preserving. This means learning new things because your mind is worth developing. This means having conversations because your thoughts are worth sharing. This means pursuing interests because your happiness is worth creating. This means asking for help when you need it because your well-being is worth protecting. You are not a burden. You are not a problem to be solved. You are not someone who is just waiting around for life to end. You are a person with value. You are someone with gifts to give. You are someone with love to share. You are someone with wisdom to offer. You are someone with a story worth telling. Let me tell you about someone who forgot how much she mattered and then remembered. Her name is Rose, and she's 82 years old. For a long time, Rose felt like she didn't have anything important to do anymore. Her husband had died. Her children lived far away. She felt lonely and useless. Rose started thinking that maybe it would be better if she just stayed in her apartment and didn't bother anyone. She stopped calling her friends because she thought they were probably too busy for her. She stopped going to church because she thought people were just being polite when they said hello. But then something happened. Rose's neighbor, a young woman with 2 small children, knocked on her door. The woman was crying. Her babysitter had canceled at the last minute, and she had an important job interview. She didn't know what to do. Rose offered to watch the children. She hadn't been around little kids in years, but she remembered how. She played with them, fed them lunch, read them stories. When their mother came back, the children didn't want Rose to leave. The job interview had gone well. The young woman got the job, and she asked Rose if she would consider watching the children regularly. Rose said yes. Suddenly, she had a purpose again. She had people who needed her. She had a reason to get up in the morning and plan her day. But more than that, Rose remembered something important. She remembered that she had skills. She knew how to take care of children. She knew how to make them feel safe and loved. She knew how to solve the little problems that come up when you're caring for kids. These weren't skills that had expired. They weren't abilities that had disappeared just because she got older. They were still there, waiting to be used. I thought I didn't have anything left to give, Rose told me. But it turned out I had exactly what someone needed. I just had to remember that I still mattered. Now Rose watches those children 3 days a week. She's become like a grandmother to them. Their mother tells everyone about how Rose saved her career by being there when she needed help. But Rose got something too. She got back her sense of purpose. She got back her feeling of being needed. She got back her understanding that she has value. Rose's story shows what can happen when you remember that you matter. When you stop thinking of yourself as someone who just takes up space and start thinking of yourself as someone who has something to give. You don't have to wait for someone to knock on your door. You don't have to wait for someone to ask for your help. You can reach out, you can offer, you can volunteer, you can connect. You can call a friend who might be lonely. You can write a letter to a grandchild who might enjoy hearing from you. You can help a neighbor who might need assistance. You can join a group where your experience would be valued. You can teach someone something you know how to do. You can share a story that might help someone understand their own life better. You can offer advice to someone who is facing a problem you've faced before. When you do these things, you're not bothering people. You're not imposing on them. You're giving them something valuable. You're sharing your gifts. And every time you do this, you remember a little more about how much you matter. You remember that you have wisdom worth sharing. You remember that you have love worth giving. You remember that you have experience worth passing on. I want you to understand something very clearly. The world is not better off without older people. The world is not more efficient when older people stay out of the way. The world is not improved when older people think of themselves as burdens. The world is better when older people know their value. The world is richer when older people share their wisdom. The world is kinder when older people offer their care and attention. You make the world better just by being in it. You make it better when you wake up each morning and choose to engage with life. You make it better when you care about what happens to other people. You make it better when you use your experience to help solve problems. So, please, don't ever think that you don't matter. Don't ever think that the world would be fine without you. Don't ever think that your best days are behind you and you're just waiting for the end. Your best days might be right now. Your most important contributions might be still ahead of you. Your greatest impact on other people's lives might be something you haven't done yet. You matter because you're here. You matter because you care. You matter because you have something unique to offer that nobody else can offer in exactly the same way. You matter because you've lived long enough to understand what really counts in life. You matter because you've learned things that can help other people avoid mistakes and find happiness. Most of all, you matter because you are you, because there has never been another person exactly like you in the history of the world. Because your thoughts and feelings and experiences and perspectives are completely unique. When you're gone, that uniqueness will be gone forever. No one else will ever see the world exactly the way you see it. No one else will ever have exactly the same combination of memories and wisdom and love to offer. That's why you matter. That's why your life is precious. That's why every day you have is a gift, not just to you, but to everyone whose life you touch. So please, treat yourself like someone who matters. Live like someone who has value. Act like someone who has important things to do and important people to care about. Because you do. Because you are. Because you matter more than you think. Let me tell you about another woman who found this out when she least expected it. Her name is Linda, and she's 63 years old. Linda had what she thought was a good life. She worked as a bank manager for 35 years. She raised 2 children who grew up to be successful adults. She had a nice house, a comfortable retirement, and everything she was supposed to want. But when Linda retired, something strange happened. Instead of feeling happy and free, she felt empty. Her children were busy with their own families and careers. They called on holidays and visited a few times a year, but Linda felt like she was bothering them when she called too often. Her husband spent most of his time watching television or playing golf. They didn't talk much anymore. They just lived in the same house, but felt like strangers. Linda started to wonder what the point of everything had been. She had worked so hard for so many years. She had saved money and followed all the rules. But now that she had time to enjoy life, she felt like there was nothing to enjoy. I felt like I had become invisible, Linda told me. Like I had served my purpose, and now I was just taking up space. I started thinking that maybe this was all there was left. Linda began sleeping later and later each morning because she didn't have any reason to get up early. She stopped calling friends because she felt like she didn't have anything interesting to say. She stopped doing activities she used to enjoy because they felt pointless. For almost 2 years, Linda lived this way. She wasn't exactly depressed, but she wasn't really living either. She was just getting through each day. Then one morning, Linda was at the grocery store when she heard a woman crying in the next aisle. Linda walked over and saw a young mother with a baby and a toddler. The woman was looking at her grocery list and then at the prices, and she was crying quietly. Linda asked if she was okay. The woman explained that her husband had lost his job and they were trying to make their money last until he found work. She was trying to figure out how to buy food for her family with the little money they had left. Without thinking, Linda offered to help. She went through the store with the young woman, showing her how to find the best deals, which brands were cheaper but just as good, how to plan meals that would stretch their budget. When they got to the checkout, Linda quietly paid for half of the groceries. The young woman started crying again, but this time from gratitude. "I don't know why I did it," Linda said. "I just saw someone who needed help, and I knew how to help. For the first time in 2 years, I felt useful." The young woman asked for Linda's phone number. She said she might need more advice about budgeting and shopping. Linda gave it to her, thinking she probably wouldn't call. But she did call, and she told her friends about Linda. Soon, Linda was getting calls from other young families who needed help managing their money and finding ways to make their paychecks stretch. Linda realized she had spent 35 years learning about money, budgets, and financial planning. She knew things that these young families desperately needed to know. She could teach them how to save money, how to avoid debt, how to plan for emergencies. What started as helping one person in a grocery store turned into Linda teaching informal classes in her living room. Then it became a weekly meeting at the community center. Then it became a program that the local family services office asked her to run officially. "I thought my working days were over," Linda said. "I thought I didn't have anything valuable to offer anymore. But it turned out that everything I had learned in my career was exactly what people needed. I just had to find the people who needed it." Now, Linda helps dozens of families every month. She teaches them how to budget, how to save money, how to make smart financial decisions. She helps them avoid the mistakes that can lead to debt and financial stress. But more than that, Linda has found her purpose again. She wakes up every morning knowing that she has important work to do. She has people who count on her. She has knowledge that makes a real difference in people's lives. The young families she helps have become like extended family to her. They invite her to birthday parties and graduations. They ask for her advice about big decisions. They treat her like the wise, caring person she always was but had forgotten she could be. "I spent 2 years thinking my life was over," Linda said. "I thought I was just waiting around to die. But it turned out that the most important work I've ever done started when I was 63 years old. I just had to stop looking backwards and start looking around at who needed what I had to give." Linda's story shows something very important. Sometimes when we feel like our lives don't matter anymore, it's not because we don't have anything to offer. It's because we haven't found the right people to offer it to yet. You have spent your whole life learning things, experiencing things, figuring things out. All of that knowledge and experience doesn't disappear when you retire or when your children grow up. It's still there, waiting to be shared with people who need it. Maybe you know how to make friends. Maybe you know how to be a good neighbor. Maybe you know how to take care of children or elderly people. Maybe you know how to make something beautiful with your hands. All of these things matter. All of these things are valuable. All of these things can help other people live better lives. The key is finding the people who need what you have to offer. Sometimes they're right in front of you, like the young mother Linda met in the grocery store. Sometimes you have to look a little harder, but they're out there. There are people who need exactly what you know how to do. There are people who would benefit from exactly the kind of caring and attention you have to give. When you find those people and start helping them, something wonderful happens. You remember that you matter. You remember that you have value. You remember that your life has purpose and meaning. And the people you help remember it too. They see that older people aren't just burdens or problems to be managed. They see that